Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's kind of getting funny saying that every time, but it's so true. Anyway, it's good to be here and to just share a little time with you guys. I was actually thinking I was going to do just a text update because we don't have a lot of really exciting things to report this week, but we're definitely making some progress. I've been reaching out to countless right now contacts and building a little army of IRL influencers that are gonna help us get the word out once we relaunch. And so that's where my focus has been on the last few days. And I know Jubin and L.L.D are working on contracts at the moment. So I'm just here to kind of hang out. And actually, I've been thinking about making these live streams also kind of like a market update, or, I read crypto news every day. I'm reading something about crypto, and some of the things are exciting. Some of the things are, the innovation is really kind of picked up, and it's really nice to kind of read and see what people are doing out there. But specifically right now, if you're not aware, there are three big bills right now being reviewed in the Senate. Actually, two are in the Senate. All three have been passed by the House. One of them's been passed by the Senate. It's going before the president to be signed. Not sure when that might happen, but and if it has already, sometimes keeping up with the news, yesterday's news is like a month old sometimes. But I thought we'd talk about some of the legislation that's taking place right now, what that really means for crypto, DeFi, blockchain, and specifically for us at Axion. So here's what you probably should know about these crypto regulation bills that are in Congress right now. So last week, the House took up a trio of bills that would establish a federal framework for regulating the cryptocurrency industry. One of the measures cleared Congress and is on its way to be signed by the president. Like I said, I did write this up because I wanted to make sure that I cover all of these points, and that this information is just well thought out. And I'm pulling from several articles. So I've linked some articles down in the detail section. So if you want to go and read those, and I also encourage anybody and everybody to start educating yourself, especially now with the new regulations that are being discussed and with the opportunities that are really the doors that are being opened right now for blockchain projects. So while the current Securities and Exchange Commission, under the leadership of Chairman Paul Atkins, has a constructive stance towards crypto, the absence of codified regulatory framework means that the possibility still exists in the future for an anti-crypto administration that could possibly undo any of the rules that the current agency is putting in place. So this is why it's so critical to go to not just be an executive order. This needs to be something that is passed by our legislators, because undoing that takes way more work than just issuing a new executive order that basically negates the previous executive order, which is what we've seen a lot of with our current administration. So all three of these bills would effectively put a government seal of approval on an industry that has long been met with skepticism from Washington, and would help cement cryptocurrency's transformation from a scandal-ridden technology or an experiment, that some people call it, to a mainstream financial and commercial instrument. And this is really what Axion is focused on. One of the main things that we're focused on is actually leveraging and taking advantage of this new mental perspective that our legislators are taking. And and I jumped ahead of myself. So as most of you know, Axion is in the process of registering our project in the state of Utah as a legally recognized DAO through the Utah DAO Act. This legislation is the first step in what is expected to be many to bring legitimate token launches and registered fundraising on chain right here in the United States. And so while there's plenty of projects out there that are helping projects launch their token, they're not necessarily protected here in the United States, at least not yet. And so what we intend to do is actually not just take advantage of existing legislation, but participate in future legislation. And that's really one of my biggest drives, is to actually participate in that legislation and take a look at how we want to do things here with Axion and protect that process through regulation, through laws that make it possible for us to move forward. So there's three bills. There's the Genius Act, there's the Clarity Act, and then finally I can't remember what the name of it is. It has to do with CBDCs. So the Genius Act would establish regulatory framework for stablecoins, a type of digital currency that is pegged to the value of the US dollar. Stablecoins are often seen as a bridge between crypto and traditional currency. They are designed to avoid the wild and much publicized fluctuations in value of some of the popular cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Doge, and Pepe, and all those kind of fun ones. But more specifically, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of the bigger players now that are really driving the future for DeFi. Proponents of this legislation have argued that the bill will help modernize America's financial system and break down the barriers between existing financial markets and cryptocurrency. Opponents argue that it's overly lax and fails to prevent abuse and protect consumers, which I think is silly. There's so many laws out there right now that protect consumers. But what they ultimately do is they keep consumers from participating. So they're not just trying to protect. They're not just trying to make it possible for consumers to participate and to enjoy the benefits of financial, stability. Most of them actually prevent traditional consumers from being able to participate without having to jump through hoops and all the other things that are in place. So the Clarity Act also is more expansive, and it's probably going to face a little bit longer road for enactment. But it lays out regulatory framework governing a vast universe of crypto assets. In particular, the bill would shift power away from the Securities and Exchange Commission to policing digital currency. The agency was central to the Biden's administration enforcement actions against the crypto industry, arguing the digital currency should be regulated like publicly traded stocks and bonds. But the Clarity Act, which is strongly supported by the crypto industry, blockchain industry, would push more control and oversight to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, an agency perceived as being more friendly to crypto. Proponents say that the bill is needed to provide regulatory clarity to a young industry that has occupied an ambiguous space between agencies. Opponents, including many Democrats, argue that changing the SEC's role would allow the crypto industry to skirt critical financial regulations and leave consumers unprotected. Again, I strongly disagree with that. I think not just societally, but I think financially and literally, that a lot of the SEC guidelines that were established when communication was very slow, and oversight was nearly impossible. But we have a much different system today. people are much more educated. They have access to information. They can educate themselves. They can learn, and they can find ways to protect themselves. They don't need some big organization out there protecting them. And that's kind of one of the things I hope to accomplish here with Axion by establishing a clean, systematic way of participating in DeFi, and then opening the doors so that as we develop other protocols or features or tools, and as we see revenue from those tools, that the members of our DAO will be able to benefit from that directly. And it will be in a trustless environment, a truly trustless environment, a system that doesn't need hands on it every single day. Now, we recently had a conversation as a team, and we talked about this decentralization as opposed to centralization. And while decentralization is the hallmark and it is the ultimate goal, there's going to be a process that keeps things centralized until this industry as a whole has really solved some of those stopgaps and provided that process to eliminate that. And that's one of the things that that I hope we're able to participate in as well. The third one also has to do with stablecoins or CBDCs, and it is a ban on central bank digital currencies. And I know that there's still a lot of debate around this, whether or not CBDCs are good or bad. I can't honestly tell you that I have. I think there needs to be an explanation or a process or a set of values that are equal across all industries or across all institutions. So going a little bit off script here, but so the third bill would stop the Federal Reserve from issuing its own digital currency. So right now the Federal Reserve pretty much controls the dollar, and it controls what a dollar means and what a dollar's worth. So this would take that out of their purview, and central banks in other countries, because central banks in other countries have been exploring and experimenting with their own digital currencies. Unlike existing cryptocurrencies, a Fed issued digital currency would be backed by U.S. government. So a Fed issued digital currency would, I'm losing my place. Cryptocurrency investors have long objected to that creation of a central bank digital currency, arguing that it would raise privacy issues for consumers. Again, while yes, we need to protect consumers and we need to be able to have measures in place that will do that effectively, without limiting access, then I'm still on the fence about CBDCs, but because my opinion is they already exist. I mean, we are already living in that kind of an environment, but it's still backed by the U.S. dollar, which I don't think that's a bad thing. What is it? USDC. I mean, USDC I think is probably one of the strongest stable coins out there, and they're doing it without regulation. They're doing it without all of this. So we'll see how that turns out. That third one is not one that I have dug really deep into. I'll do that as time permits. But these are the things, and this is what's exciting, though. It's exciting that we're finally having these conversations. We're finally looking at cryptocurrency as a legitimate industry, because most of us that are watching this or paying attention or participating already believe that this, that we see the legitimate side of things. Granted, it's been infected by scammers and whatnot, and people with bad actors and people with ill intent, but we see that everywhere. In fact, so we just bought a new car not too long ago, a few weeks ago, and we're already getting inundated with people trying to get us to pay $500 to initiate our extended warranty, which is a bunch of freaking crap. Anyway, fraud exists everywhere, and so we need to head it off at the pass, and this is that process that will enable us to actually have some controls, have some logic, and some opportunities for retail investors and for projects like Axion to really thrive, especially over the next few years. And this is the conversation we've had several times within the team: is how do we ensure that at the end of this administration that we too are protected and staged, so that if new legislation was to come in, we could quickly adapt if that was necessary. So anyway, really the biggest update that I can offer you right now for where we're at as a team is I'm in the process of reaching out to a vast network of contacts that I've built over the years, and what I'm really learning as I go through this process is there are very intelligent, amazing human beings out there that are very, very successful, very popular. They have thriving communities, and they absolutely know squat about cryptocurrency. Or the minute I say the word cryptocurrency, because I usually start off the conversation that, we're a DeFi project. We're looking to participate in blockchain technology, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, well, what's that? And so I do this on purpose. Is if they don't know what DeFi is and they don't know what blockchain is, then I gotta say cryptocurrency, and that they're like, boom, oh yeah, okay, well, and that opens up Pandora's box. But it makes for some really interesting long conversations, but mostly very positive. People want to learn. They do want to know, and they want to understand. And so by reaching out to this network, we're going to be, as we get people excited about what we're doing, then they're going to be reaching out to their networks. Because really, in order to have a true bull market or a true bull run, what we really need is onboarding people into the industry that up until now haven't had a whole lot of experience or education in it. So that's going to be one of our focuses. So I'm going to pan over here to some of the comments. Hey, Scully, nice to see you. Bolsito, what do you go for? You go for different. Bolzin, Bolsito, is that the same? Let's see. So launch on base still mid-September. That is the goal. In fact, I really hope to time this with our 5-year anniversary. So we are kind of in the process of picking up the pace, being a little bit more focused on what we're doing and the order that we're doing things. It was a big part of our conversation last week, and fine-tuning some of the changes that we want to make, specifically with the accelerator, with the liquidity, with participating in liquidity, and bringing opportunities to the project to keep people engaged, to keep people coming back, and to keep people entertained a little bit as they're doing that and as they're learning how to participate in DeFi. So, let me see. I'm going to pull these up. So, this way. So I'm not going to give out any suggestions on how you should claim or what options you should claim. We're actually working on a couple of things that are, and so it's pretty much approved. We will have to go for a community vote shortly before we relaunch, but we are working on a few things that are bound to get people very excited. And I want to be careful not to put too much out there right now with an expectation, because We still have to fine tune what this means and how we're going to actually execute it. But we are working on some really some aspects of the claiming process that will ensure people are excited about claiming their tokens and participating. So that's one of our projects. Is Donald? Is Donald? I always laugh when I hear the word Donald. I don't know why. I had a friend who was named Don, and it was weird. But anyway, is the Trump administration great for Axion ecosystem or not? Absolutely. I truly believe it is. In fact, it's helped me be even more confident in registering here in Utah and participating in those laws, because again, we are going to participate in the legislative process, and hopefully as we tap into the DAO Act and as we leverage it and bring in the corporate structure of cooperative, and we're able to legally provide rewards and dividends, if you will. I hate that word when it comes to crypto, but that's basically what it is. So yeah, we are definitely excited about the opportunities that are coming up. It is nice to have a more crypto friendly administration, and know that in fact, from what I understand, they pretty much have come out and said that during the Trump administration, they are not, unless there's blatant fraud, they're not worried about going after cryptocurrency companies. Now, that doesn't mean that cryptocurrencies are, get a free pass, because you still have to, avoid fraud. You still have to participate in good faith. You still have to execute promises. You still have to have fiduciary responsibility. So, if anyone fails to do that, then hopefully someone with the resources will go after those projects that are failing to carry out their promises. That's just my opinion. So, and that really drives me, because last thing I want is to piss people off. I want people to come in and actually really like what they see and get excited about engaging in the process. So, when is the new? That's a great question. Right now, we have talked to a couple other people that are going to help us expedite some of these things. So I don't want to give a time frame. Definitely before any of our last, our 30-day countdown. I would expect long before our 30-day countdown, but I think that's only a few weeks away. So yeah, working on it. So yes, there's part of the funds are definitely going to go into our liquidity. And if you go through we have one of the votes up that explains how we've broken down the use case for the reward contract funds. So if you have any, really, I would highly just go back. I encourage you to go back and read through that DAO vote, and then look at the corresponding information on our knowledge base. But yeah, we've basically divided those funds up into 3 different areas, and each area is responsible for different aspects of our progress. How do we know the system for stakes is robust like current one? We're in this to build something that will last. So we've simplified a lot of the staking process. And we're making it so that so I can actually go in and onboard my mom. That's one of my main goals, is I can easily go in and share this information and have it make sense. And my mom's 83, so I don't think I'm going to be getting her on board. But should she actually say, I'm interested in this, then I want to be able to walk her through that without her looking at me like I'm weird. So I'm just going to go through a couple more of these real quick. That's so the goal is to have all of the registration and the paperwork done. Part of the registration process, believe it or not, is submitting our contracts. So part of the registration process for being accepted as a DAO and recognized as a DAO is that we have to actually submit our contracts with it. So the state of Utah is going to be reviewing our contracts. Now, nothing is saying we can't say that they have audited the contracts, but they do not officially acknowledge auditing our contracts. But they do review the contracts. All have to be reviewed as part of the DAO registration in order to be recognized as a DAO. And right now, we're looking at Uniswap v3. We've had conversations, and we've had some preliminary conversations. We will get into more in-depth conversations as our contracts get a little further along. But we're also working closely with the base team and members that are on both Coinbase and Base. And one of the things that I have this. So I missed one of my paragraphs here. So Axion will be relaunching on Base within the next 2 months. If all goes as planned, we are working to ensure that the Axion DAO AXND token is well positioned to take advantage of recent updates to Coinbase's token listing strategy. So chances are pretty good that we will be listed on Coinbase. So I don't know exactly what that looks like yet. I don't know exactly what it's going to take. I don't know if it's going to happen on day one. I really don't have all those answers, but we are definitely pursuing that as an option. So we will be digging into that as we move forward as well. Real quick. So one of the features that we're looking to, Bulkito, is that Bulzin? Is that the same? Yes or no? I'm curious. So yes, you're going to be able to claim. So when you claim your stakes, you can have them sent to a new address. So when you go through the claiming process, if everything goes well, if everything goes as planned, you will be able to designate a new wallet address. And depending on how you're claiming, will depend on whether that wallet address needs to be whitelisted with your primary wallet address. So yes, that's going to be an option. So we are looking at this specifically because we know a lot of people have multiple addresses that they have stakes or holdings on. I did it because I participated when I did Luxy and what was the other one? Babel. I had multiple wallets that I participated in those token launches, and so each one of those had to have stakes, and they had to have the NFTs and everything else. So yes, we're going to make it so that you can send them all to one Ethereum address. I think I answered that. So yes, we are definitely looking at those opportunities. And we're in a position to, so it makes total sense that we would do that. Wow, we just hit 30 minutes. I didn't expect to go this long, but that's awesome. I appreciate the questions. They're important to just having this conversation, and I really encourage everybody. We are updating the knowledge base just with a few of the recent changes that happened from the vote. Very minor. I think I might have already done a couple of them, but I'm going back through the knowledge base over the next couple of days, so that by Monday, the knowledge base will be completely up to date. It will reflect some of those conversations and changes that we've had through the DAO vote, and then we'll just continue to move forward. One thing I'll add, and cross your fingers, send us good vibes, because next Thursday, I don't think it's going to be a text report on Discord. I think it's going to be another live stream, and fingers crossed, I do hope that we will be introducing you to our first 2 major partners. And so, yeah, Send us as much good energy as you can. It's pretty much all approved. There were some minor changes on one of them, and so we'll have a quick conversation on that. And if everybody still likes everything, then they're done, and we'll be introducing everyone to those partners. So let's see what we got. Yeah, we could always do better. Thanks, Bill Tico. Appreciate you guys being here. I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. And just keep in mind, things are changing for the better when it comes to legislation, when it comes to opportunities, when it comes to the processes that we can leverage and take advantage of that will only ensure our success moving forward. And that sustainability to me is paramount. It's critical to have sustainability in anything that we're doing. So yeah. So look forward to seeing everybody next week, and have a good weekend, everybody. I will have my space tomorrow. We'll probably be talking a lot about some of the stuff that we've been talking about here, some of the legislation. Probably bring in a couple people if I can get them available. So that conversation actually has some meat and carries for a little while. So be sure to check that out. Join us on X, and have an awesome weekend, everybody. Cheers.